Hi everyone, this is Niladri. Welcome to the final session of Project Management Professional Training Series. So we have landed in session 28. Now that's quite a long journey, right? And thanks to all of you for watching session 1 till 27. And I hope you have liked and enjoyed it and have benefited you. So session 28, we are going to take a quick a glance into the blueprint review of the PMP exam content, just to ensure that yes, we have covered all of the aspect and we will finish off with some few final words, some key things, some lessons, or some words from my end, which I have learned in my PMP journey. So let's start off with a review of the PMP syllabus or the blueprint. So let me open quickly the PMI website where I'm logged in right now. Let me go to certifications, project management professional. By now, I'm sure that you must have gone to this page like multiple times. And in the very initial sessions, I would have shown you that there are two very important books here or handbooks there. One is the exam content outline or the blueprint handbook, and one is the certification handbook. And always keep a copy of them or go through them once in a while because these things keep on changing a little bit once in a while. So let's talk about or let's go through the PMP exam content online, which is basically the blueprint of the syllabus. Now, that's the 2021 exam update. All is great and fine. This all is like we have gone through it like a couple of times in the past, but let me take a final look. So you will see that the PMP exam content has been divided into three main domains. So domain one is the people, domain two is the process, and domain three is the business environment. Now, in the exam, you are not going to get like this is domain people, domain process, and all that. But just to have a little bit of structured content, they have divided the content into three phases. And if you come down a little bit, you will see that this is what the exam content they are talking about. How many in a percentage of marks will be there on each of the domain. So people you can expect 42%, process will be like 50%, which is the highest number, and then the business environment, which is the lowest one as 8%. Now, let's see what it means, right? So if I go into domain, and you will see it starts with people, and most of you will probably try to learn the PMP exam as per the blueprint. I will say it's all right, but it's not the best method. The method that we have gone in this training course is the best because in that way you understand how a project flows right from the the project charter or the initiation phase until the closing phase, from where you capture the lessons learned. But if you go through this method, probably the knowledge areas and the process groups will not be super clear to you because the starting point is manage conflict. I mean, we have done all of the context here, but let's imagine for a while that I started your PMP training on conflict management. I mean, that will be confusing for you, right? Because conflict management comes in the stage when execution happens. In the project execution stage, you are going to hire the team, and that's when you're going to build the team, and you have to go through the Tuckman's ladder, forming, storming, norming kind of process, and then you will get into conflict management kind of stuff, right? But not in the very beginning. So if you look into this manage conflict, we have done this. Lead a team, the different kind of leadership, we have discussed that. Support team performance, how do you manage it? Empower team. So all this about a kind of your empowering team, stakeholders, all about the people piece of it. Hire and train them and to develop them and all that stuff. And we have done that in detail. Now, if you come down, collaboration with stakeholders, this has been discussed in the stakeholder management. Build shared understanding, again, in the stakeholder management, engage and support. And this all is also coming a part of your project integration. Define team ground rules, right? Mentor, all that is coming. Promote the performance of the team through the KPI. So all that is coming in the performance management. Basically, that's a part of your project execution, right? Now, if you come down into process, here also it's like execute the project with the urgency required to deliver business value. Imagine I would have started the training like in this way, it would have been confusing for you, right? So this is not the way we have done, but if you go through it one by one, you will see that we actually have covered it in a different way in actual project flow, and we have done all through them in detail. Managed communications, we have completely finished the communication management piece, the channels and all that stuff. Assess and manage risk. We have spent a complete one lesson on risk management in detail. Engage stakeholders, which is stakeholder management portion. Manage the budget and the resources, which is basically your project cost. Plan and manage schedule, which is your time management or the schedule management. And we have done all kinds of stuff on the schedule, which we normally do, right? The critical path and so on. Manage and manage the quality of the products. Again, we have spent a very good amount of time on QA and QC. Plan and manage scope, that is scope management. So all this stuff is done. I'm just trying to take you through to ensure that you feel very confident about the blueprint. It's not like you will think, hey, we have not done something like manage project changes. What is this? We have done a lot of time. Basically, if you get into monitoring and control, you will see that that's nothing about you manage the project changes through the change control board, right? Uh, and manage the project artifacts, the different kind of the artifacts that we have got in the project or the program, establish the project governance. Everything has been completed. So the blueprint gives you a kind of the different tasks which are falling in the three domains. But the best way to learn the project management is always the way we have taken, from initiating, planning, executing, monitoring, control, and closing, with all the key knowledge areas. Without that kind of an approach, it will be difficult for you to visualize how the project is going from end to end, right? And finally, the business environment, where you're talking about plan and manage the project compliance, benefits and value, external business environment changes, org changes, and so on and so forth. So everything has been completed. So it's not that this blueprint is something different than what we have done. We have done things in a more, I will say, a more value-added way, a more meaningful way, which actually covers the blueprint, and it's also a more exhaustive version of the blueprint. Okay. So yeah, having said that, yes, we have successfully completed the project management, all the concepts as in the blueprint, and a little bit more than that. We have really dived deep into many of the areas which the blueprint itself is also not talking about. Also spend some time in Agile. In Agile, I have shared with you two training links, which are actually one of the both of the training links are in my YouTube channel. I created them years ago, but they are still fitting absolutely fine. So I didn't recreate anything agile. If you go through Learn Scrum in less than 6 minutes, that training is something people which they like and love. I've heard a lot of good comments on that. It's a very short snippet about Scrum, but probably will get the entire agile structure. PM processes of like two ways. One is the waterfall, which we did, and one is the agile. And then you will get into what Scrum is and how do we do Scrum. Okay. Um, and also have a look into the training, which is Agile Triangle, which is just a different approach than the normal PMP Iron Triangle or the PMP Triangle, or basically what we call the PM Triangle, right? Um, So Agile, two trainings are more than enough, because the questions that you're going to get in the exam will be more about Scrum and generic Agile. It will not really pull up the Agile concepts like a Lean, or XP or DSTO and stuff like that. But most of the questions will be Scrum and Kanban and the fundamental concepts of Agile. Have a read on that book itself, because it's very simple, but I'm 100% sure the videos I have shared with you, they will really give you a pretty good insight, and you can just brush up your skills by doing some questions on the agile. But expect a good sprinkling of agile on the exams that you're going to get in the exam. Okay, so that's about the blueprint review. Very simple. Like I said, we are glad to know that we have covered all the aspects of the blueprint. And that's why I kept the blueprint in the end, that once we complete the entire exam content, then we will take a look into the blueprint. And you will see that we have done more than that. That's in the blueprint, right? All right. Now the final words for the PM exam. So let me talk about myself a little bit, and then you will get from where this is coming. So I passed my PMP exam in the second attempt, and that was in March 2014. That is 28th of March 2014. I remember the date. And I couldn't pass the PMP exam when I gave it in the month of December in 2013. And the reason that I could not pass in 2013 was time management. In my days, or during our time in 2013 and 14, the PMP exam was a straight 4 hour marathon exam with no breaks. 200 questions, 4 hours. You hardly get 1 minute, 30 seconds for each question and with no break at all. So mentally, you will feel tired. I mean, you can take a break if you want to go to the washroom or take just come out of the hall and take some water and all, that's okay. But your clock on the computer will be ticking. And that's where you need a lot and lot of practice at home with a clock to ensure that you're having that endurance with you, because after like 2.5, after 3 hours, your brain can stop working. It's a marathon test, right? You don't have any breaks. So that was one of the main reason, and it was not like a lot of knowledge uh, difference which I had in my first attempt and between my second attempt. Knowledge wise, I was same. But second attempt, what I did, I only practiced questions, questions, questions with a timer. I missed close to 25 questions in the first attempt. I was just struggling and running out of time. And that's when I realized it's just not uh, okay enough to be very good in the concepts and super good in the questions, but it's more nicer or critical, basically to have a good running rate in the exam. So PMP exam has been designed in such a way that it will test you to the core till your neck about all the concept. It will believe that you are, I mean, it assumes that you are expert in project management, and moreover, it will give you pretty less time to crack the questions. Somebody has said online very nicely that if the PMP exam was 6 hours, then probably everybody who gives would have passed the exam. So thankfully, things have changed now. Okay, now my wife just passed the exam last year, and thankfully she did that in the first attempt. And and what she had, I will not say it was less difficult or more difficult, but now they are giving two breaks in the exam, which is, in my eyes, a very, very good approach. Your brain needs some kind of stop, some kind of pause before you jump into, because the exam mode itself makes you a little bit nervous, because you have spent so many hours of preparation, you've invested some money, you've swiped your credit card and all that, and taken your leave from office maybe to go to that exam hall, right? And then you are already in a pressurized kind of mind. And then if you do not get breaks, it just adds more fuel to the fire. So now the exam is like 230 minutes, which is 3 hours and 50 minutes to complete 180 questions. Again, the run rate is not changing. PMP is not giving you more time. Basically, it's telling that, again, it is close to 1 minute, 30 seconds for questions, not more than that. But what it gives you is that it increases the time. It tells you the total time in the exam is 4 hours and 10 minutes. So basically, you get a solid 20-minute break, which is divided into two breaks, 10 minutes each. So you are going to get two 10-minute break in the exam. And for the first break, which you're going to get is after you answered and reviewed all the questions 1 till 60. And the second break is going to happen after you've answered the questions till 120. Now, what does it mean? It means that the time being allotted to you per question, that time is not changing. You are not getting more time in the exam to conquer the questions. That is the same. But what is changing is you are getting more time, a little bit of more time to relax actually. Okay. Now, what you also have to remember in the process is PMP exam, the good part is, okay, there are two good parts in the PMP exam. One, there is no negative marking. So don't be scared that you do not know the answer, so I will leave it blank. Don't keep anything blank there. Okay, whatever comes closest in your mind, give it. Okay, that's one good part. There is no minus marking. The second good part of the PMP exam is that you got an option in the questions called review. Review means that, let's say the question looks pretty tough to you, and probably 1 minute you couldn't crack it, or you're like thinking, I need to check it further if I get more time later on. You can just uh, press that option on the question called review, review later. And once you've finished with all the questions, you can always come to a screen. It tells you review, and you can click on the review and go back to that question and spend some more time into that. The benefit is that uh, you will not lose much time on a large and complex question, and probably you leave it for the later part. Okay. But with this breaks, a new change has came up. The new change is that you cannot review the questions which you attempted prior to the break. So let's say I have finished my question number 1 till 60. I have answered them all. It will ask me, do you want to review things? I review them all. I click on open for break. You click on that break and you go for the break. Okay, you get the 10 minutes break. But when you come back, you cannot go back to your 59 question or 58 question and so on. Those 60 questions which you did prior to your break, they got kind of locked and frozen. You cannot go and change them. But you can definitely change them while you are reviewing them. So 1 till 60, maybe I've got 5 questions to be reviewed, which I marked like review while answering the questions. I can go back to them 1 till 60 at the end of the time. I can click on the review once and put on the correct answers, like whatever I know, and then I click on break, then I go for break. But once I come back from break, they're being frozen. The same happens with the second break. 61 till 120 will be frozen, and you cannot change them after you come back from the second break. So remember that in mind, that unlike the exam which I had given in my time, like 2014, those days we used to have like 4 hours straight exam with one review at the end, and we used to review everything, maybe 25 questions for review. We used to finish it off, and then we used to go for the final like submit button. Here you don't get it in that way. The other part is that, though I always say that review is a good option, it is not always a good option, because you will not have too much time for review as well. Okay, so do not keep too many questions for review. So now let's come to the final tips which I'm going to share, which will help you immensely to pass the exam. So the way to crack the exam is, first of all, of course, you have to study hard and get all the concepts cleared and practice a lot of questions. There are loads of questions in Udemy now these days. There are online like question banks. Then there is something called Prepcast. You can go anywhere and practice. Now, these are not dumps. There is not a single dump for PMP exam online. Do not be fooled by any vendor who is telling you, buy these dumps for X amount of dollars and you will pass it. No, do not do that. You will be completely fooled, and do not get into the shortcut methods of cheating and all that. That may just give you some paper of PMP, but you will not be a good project manager. Okay, so do a solid study, invest your time. 4 months to 5 months is good, but you will be knowing what is good time for you. uh, do not have to tell everybody in the world that I'm going for the exam, because the more you tell people that you are going to go for exam next week or tomorrow, it adds more pressure to you. That all the best and do well, that rings in your ear, trust me, it will add more pressure in your mind. So do not get into that mode. Try to keep it private to as less people as possible. Okay, so even let's say, God forbid, but you couldn't make it the first time, and many people, they cannot make it the first time because the exam bar is too high, right? And most of us are too much engaged in our professional life and personal life, so we may not be having all the time in the world to pick up a book and study, right? So those challenges will always be there. Now, uh, the the first time, if you cannot pass or whatever it is, you will see you don't have to face too many people to explain them why you couldn't pass, because they have not walked your journey, right? They have not walked on the road where you walked. They have not faced the similar kind of the situation which you faced. So they will never probably know that why you failed. It's difficult to explain to people why you couldn't pass. Trust me, even after a lot of hard work and study, you may not make it the first time, and don't take it too personally. That's okay. That's all right. There are many people, more than 70% of the people cannot make the PMP exam the very first time. Okay. Now, Once you practice very hard and put a timer, put a clock to improve speed at home, and you know that yes, not only concepts are super clear with you, but you're very, very good with timing, then the tip in the exam will be that go for the exam, immediately go for the low hanging fruits. So question 1 to 60, let's say, click the answers immediately, because you by that time you will be like sure about which questions you are very confident. I mean, let's say the question on time or cost, or let's say risk management, communication, HR, these all will be pretty easy and simple for you, right? Any mathematical question should be 100% doable. Earn value questions, graph questions should be simple. Now all this you do it, try to save time. You may not need 1 minute 30 seconds for these questions. You probably need maybe 10 seconds or 15 seconds. Read, mark, correct, and go through quickly. Okay, now once you have finished your low hanging fruits, then again come back, do a re recombing of the questions. So maybe 1 to 60, out of that you did like 45 questions and 15 are left for recomp. Do it again, and like that you go for a little bit larger questions or complex, or the complicated ones which you think will need more time. Some of the questions will be really tough, trust me. Probably you will not be having the answer at all. Do not think too much on them. Just read the question, find out the best of the four answers, and quickly mark it and move forward. Okay, the trick of the exam is that if you try to, you know squeeze out your time and lose your time, and in that process you will not be able to answer all the questions in the exam. So that's one of the trick of the exam. That's a kind of a trap for you. Don't fall into that trap. Okay, the other part is that one of the other ways to crack, if it's a very difficult question, then one of the ways is that out of four answers which you see on the PMP exam, and I have told you in the lesson 3 or 4, out of four, two will be like kind of garbage, and two will be very close to each other. So first of all, you take out those odd mans out, the garbage, and with the two which are remaining, on those two you find out which is the nearest one. Okay, which comes very, very close. And then you click on that. But again, like I said, do not spend too much of time on large complex questions, because the attempt will be futile. Even after think too much, you may not give the proper answer. Be very thorough with the PMP planning stage. The planning stage is like 21 to 22 steps are there, and planning stage is the only one which is going in a sequential manner. And we have discussed that in detail. So planning stage, if you're super thorough, then any kind of use cases, you will find that there are kind of statements which are contradictory to which like what comes first. Like the first comes the schedule, right? I mean, first comes the network diagrams, and then the critical path, and then the development of the schedule. And then after schedule, we get into budget. Sometimes you will see the question will be like, they developed the budget and then they're getting into schedule. Immediately, you know that this is not the correct approach. Okay. So low hanging fruits, number one, first go, always go for that. Large complex questions, second go. You can place them on review and go them second time, but don't spend too much time on them. Uh, Third one, which I already told you, that you cannot review the questions after your assigned breaks of 10 minutes. After the break, when you come back, it will start fresh for the next set, and you cannot go and review your questions in the like questions which you attempted prior to the break. So be careful on that. Uh, do not put too many questions on review. I will always say out of 60 questions, maybe 5 or 6, the rest you all try to do it in one first attempt itself. And the how much more can you do in the first attempt, that always depends on how much have you prepared for the exam. If you are very well prepared, very well, with a good time management, you probably will be cracking 50 to 55 questions in the very first attempt of 1 to 60. Okay, only 4 or 5 will be left. um, and the other part is that this is the part which you will see in some online. So what happens is that there are some questions in the PMP exam which are not going to fetch you marks. Okay, PMP calls them the design questions. Let's say there are 200 questions in the exam or 180 questions in the exam, at least 10 to 15 will be like design questions, which are like futuristic questions. PMP is planning to maybe give them next year or something, but just doing a uh, testing out there. Okay, these questions are called the dummy questions. They are not going to fetch you any marks, but there is no way to know that these are the dummy questions. Some online portal will tell you that the first 20 questions are dummy. Some will tell you the last 20 questions are dummy, and so on. I will say do not even go in that path. Do not even think that any of the question is dummy in the exam. Always think that every question carries mark, and give the equal amount of focus on each of the question, because you never know which is the dummy one among all the reals. So you don't have to bother on that aspect at all. Focus on the exam like every question is a real one which is going to fetch you marks. Is there any passing score in the exam is a very common question. After the exam is over, you will not get a like a score kind of thing. But generally people say, or in every of the forum that I have read, like 68 to 70% is the passing rate, which means that if there are 100 questions, then you have to solve correctly at least 70 questions. Okay, I will rather say that keep that target higher for you, 75 questions, and then you will reach the passing rate. Uh, is there any extra like awards or something when you get like a very high scorer and all that? No, there is nothing like that. A PMP pass is a PMP pass. There is nothing like somebody is having extra edge by getting 90 or something, right? Uh, you will get a certificate of the PMP once you pass the exam. So it's not about the uh, high score or the low score. It's about the passing score. If you are going to reach the pass score in the exam in the stipulated time, then you're done with the exam. So all the best to you once again. It's been a very enjoyable journey for all of you and for me as well to share all the knowledge. I wish you all the best. Do very well. And like I said, the exam is tough, and we all are having our own commitments at work and then at personal life. So do not be too hard on yourself. It is absolutely all right if you are taking more time to prepare for the exam than somebody else. For you it might be 6 months, for somebody will be like 3 months, right? It's fine. And it is also absolutely fine if you're not cracking the exam the first time or even the second time. That's okay, right? There are 3 attempts which you get in 1 year. So once your application of PMP is approved, from that day, you can give 3 times the exam in the whole 1 year. And that's the way, if you cannot crack in 1 year with 3 attempts, then and only then again you start your application process, completely fresh and from scratch. But 3 attempts is something which is a pretty doable thing. First you cannot do, I do understand. Maybe second also cannot do, that also is fine. But third one should be doable. And make it easy, make it enjoyable journey. Do not just think only about the exam and the certificate and all that stuff, right? So all the best to your project management journey. With that note, I step out of this, and thank you all and wish you all the best in your project management journey. Cheers then. Bye-bye.